A lot of other places, including myself, don't rub your face on the tripod. Tripod is not for love. Hello, my name is Ellie Barnes. I'm a writer and a librarian, and today I'm going to offer you 3 of the books I found most helpful when I was writing my first fiction novel. Let's start with On Writing by Stephen King. This book is loved and heavily quoted, and while I do have some issue with parts of it, I will discuss those in a blog post on my website. For the most part, this is the best description I have ever seen of the relationship between art and life for the artists themselves. He also has some practical advice that I think is at least worth considering, although I think he meant it as an exploration of his own process, and a lot of it has been taken as gospel. Still, I think every writer should read On Writing. My second selection is John Truby's The Anatomy of a Story. This has been heavily collected in public libraries, and with good reason. The reviews were fabulous. It's ended up in several guides that librarians read, telling them what they should keep in their libraries. It's considered borderline canon, which On Writing is as well, by the way. What I really like about this book is that the exercises he's placed in here are very well explained, but they're also a little bit complicated. So what he's ended up with is something that I think could be a tool for an experienced writer, because again, the exercises are a little complicated, but is so well explained that a new writer could use it as well. My third and final selection, and by the way, this is the surprise selection. This was not a big book when it came out. It hasn't gotten the praise that I think it deserves. But I feel it's incredibly important for anyone in any creative endeavor. It's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. What's really interesting about this book is that while On Writing deals with the life of the artist and some mechanics in how you write, and then Anatomy of a Story deals with how you construct a narrative, War of Art isn't about that at all. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even go into those things. It almost exclusively talks about resistance. That's Steven Pressfield's word. I tend to just use the word self-doubt. It exists in anyone when they're trying to do anything that scares them. And it's often the things that stop us from achieving what we really want in life. In that way, this is helpful to anyone doing almost anything. If you're going on a diet, if you're trying to start a business, this book talks about how you combat the nagging little monster in your head that's trying to convince you you can't do it. And while I think he gives some advice, a lot of it's not super practical, because there really is no practical advice you can give on this subject. Every single writer, every single artist is going to ultimately handle it differently. The one thing he tells you, and he tells you this over and over again, is that you have to keep trying, and you have to keep combating it. You have to wake up every day and fight it. You fight resistance, and that's how you make something. This book doesn't get the love that The Anatomy of a Story or On Writing gets. And to be fair, those are probably a little more important in terms of constructing something. But I think this is so vital to the process of doing anything that scares you that it not only should be read more often, I think it should be read by people outside the arts as well. These 3 books are the very first thing I would suggest to anyone who is sitting down learning how to write. I used them when I started to write my book, and they helped me immensely. If you have more suggestions for books on writing, please add them in the comments below. And I will be back on YouTube again on Friday to show you my favorite horror novels of the last handful of years.